Hi everyone, welcome to this second week of looking at the birth stories of Jesus together. Last week we looked at Matthew and Luke's Gospel and to their genealogies, their origin stories, looking back to Abraham as the father of faith and to Adam as the first human being, so very much the humanity of who Jesus is. And then this week we're going to turn our attention to John's Gospel and looking at something of his divinity. And what better place to start than the Book of Kells, which is an 9th century manuscript written in about 800 up in this place called Iona in Scotland, which is off the west coast, to an abbey where the monks used to spend hours and hours writing this gospel out, both in beautiful handwriting but also using incredible illuminated artwork, which has become famous all over the world. And when this book, which was one of their most precious and treasured possessions, when the Vikings came, they moved it to a new abbey in a place called Kells in Ireland, where they probably bound it and put it together, and then it's ended up in Trinity College in Dublin. And this library always reminds me of what I imagine Hogwarts Library to look like. And whether you particularly like the artwork or not, the artwork, whether it be on the big page, such as a page with John there introducing his writing to us, or whether it be through his symbol, which is the eagle, even down to the smallest of details, like this beginning of a sentence, you get this Irish knotwork, which some of you may have come across before, known as the Celtic Design. And the idea behind that is that it is meant to capture eternity, knitting together earth and heaven, God and humanity, physical and spiritual, into one. And so that goes very much through all that we're going to be looking at this week as we look at John's prologue. What's interesting is Paula Gooder, when she talks about the prologue to John's Gospel, she talks about it being like a poem. And that made me smile and reminded me of the Book of Kells, because in the Book of Kells, John's Gospel is written out 1200 years ago at the beginning as a poem. Not so much like prose, like in a newspaper article or whatever, but as a poem. Why are poems so important? Because poems encourage us to read slower and let the words breathe, both in our minds, but also in our hearts and in our souls. And this goes very much to the heart of John's prologue, what he's trying to share with us. It's like a great tapestry, a great picture of the enormity of the meaning and the implications of Jesus' birth. And if you've never had a go at doing this yourself, whether it be on a computer, or whether it be on your phone, or whether it be with a pen and paper, or as a piece of art with calligraphy, I would really encourage you to have a go, just for yourself. It will take you 5-10 minutes at most, and yet it can speak so deeply into who your spirit and into what your faith is all about. So I'd really encourage you to have a go for yourself, that it becomes your gospel, not just John's gospel to you. And in so doing, may God speak through that for you. I'm going to just read out the text for you now, so as to encourage us as we journey through this week together. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was in the beginning with God. All things came into being through him, and without him not one thing came into being. What has come into being in him was life, and that life was the light of all people. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness did not overcome it. There was a man sent from God whose name was John. He came as a witness to testify to the light, so that all might believe through him. He himself was not the light, but he came to testify to the light. The true light that enlightens everyone was coming into the world. He was in the world, and the world came into being through him, yet the world did not know him or receive him. He came to what was his own, and his own people did not accept him. Yet to all who did receive him, who believed in his name, he gave power to become children of God, who were born not of blood or of the will of the flesh or of the will of men, but born of God. The Word became flesh and lived among us, and we have seen his glory, the glory of the Father's only Son, full of grace and truth. the implication of these words and the enormity of these words is absolutely mind-blowing. But I hope as you journey through this week, as we look more into the detail, God will speak through these words to each of us. So I hope you have a good week and have a go at maybe writing out John's Gospel for yourselves. God bless. Bye for now.